Hello, everybody, and welcome into our first second round preview show here at the Hockey Writers YouTube channel. And this is the only series confirmed as we're recording this right now. Is the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers going to be meeting in the second round? This is two powerhouse teams that basically pretty much easily walked their way through the first round. Carolina had a bit of the Islanders put up a little bit of a fight at the end there, but still ended up winning the series. But the Rangers just swept through the Capitals. I think we were pretty much expecting that. I was hoping that they would put up a little bit more of a fight, but the Rangers are just too good of a team. So thanks, Jim. Thanks for Zach for coming on the show again here. All right, well, let's get started with we'll just do a little bit of an overview of what's happened so far. And I'll start with you, Jim. Some takeaways from that first round series that, the Rangers, like I say, pretty much had their way with the Capitals. The Capitals had a few maybe spurts of good, but Ovechkin was largely invisible. I was kind of surprised by that, but what are your takeaways from that first round series there?
Well, exactly. That was a big part of it. For the Rangers, it was just a very workmanlike performance. They didn't do anything particularly great. They did, shut down Ovechkin. He, hardly got any points. He didn't get any shots in game four. And that was one of I think the keys to making sure that the Capitals didn't get on track. But they just played a lot of good, steady, hockey, which is what they needed to do. They didn't do anything to shoot them in the foot. They didn't end up in the penalty box too much. They didn't make a lot of crazy mistakes. And, many of the players that, you know, we expected to contribute for them did offensively. And then, of course, Shesterkin was, fantastic with a really good defense in front of it. So it's about what we expected. And they will tell you they've said all the right things. We can do a lot better, and we're going to have to. And they're going to have to do a lot better if they expect to beat Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll over you, Zach, on Carolina. It's the Islanders did put up a bit. They won one game. I put a little bit of doubt in the Hurricanes' minds, maybe a little bit. But what were your takeaways from that first round series?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of what we expected. I mean, rematch of last year's, first round, between these two teams, it was going to be physical. It was, the Hurricanes, really came out and threw the body around Seth Jarvis, all 5'10" of him, threw the body, Spirit Kotkaniemi with a huge shot on Cal Clutterbuck in game two. And just overall, I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, the Islanders did win one, but it was in double overtime. So,
Yeah.
it took them an extra couple, periods to get it done as well. And for the fact that, you talk about epic comeback in game two, you're down 3-0. You come back and win that, blow the roof off the place. And then not even a week later, you go and do it again in game five where, you're up 3-1. Islanders claw back in, the second period. And then, you score two goals in 8 seconds, which is, crazy to think about. And it's like the second time that series where they did it in under 10 seconds. So they're joining, I think it was the 83 Oilers were the only other team to score two goals in 10 seconds in the same series. So yeah. But yeah, this series pretty much had everything. Lead changes, blown leads, crazy comebacks, like just anything you could think of. It probably did happen. So yeah, it definitely made it very, very interesting. I know a lot of people were gonna say six, some said seven, but overall I think it was a good series for the Hurricanes. And I can like same sentiments that what the Rangers are saying too is the fact that yeah, they could be better. The second period was not the Hurricanes period through the entire series. Like if you look at a period breakdown, their second period was probably not the greatest at all, but they dominated the first and the third.
Mhm.
So there's definitely some things that they can, definitely focus on, especially, second period kind of tightening up a little bit and also, winning more faceoffs because games 1 through 4, you just saw a decline in the faceoff percentage. So
Mhm.
yeah, they did win the series 4-1, but if you ask Ryan Brandamore and the leadership group of those guys, they can even say that yeah, there's a lot left to be worked on for
Mhm.
sure. And then they're going to need it. Like Jim said, for his Rangers, the Hurricanes are going to need the same thing too, because they need to bring their A game against, the President's Trophy winning New York Rangers. So it's going to be a very tough series, I believe, for not for both teams, honestly.
It's gonna be a fun one, I think. They're both teams that scored a lot in the regular season, over 3 goals a game. Pretty much the same. 3.4 for the Hurricanes, 3.44 for the Rangers. 282 goals for to 279. I mean, pretty much the same type of offense. And 3 fewer wins for the Hurricanes. So really, this is a pretty evenly matched on paper if you're looking at the stats. In the regular season, it was a 2-1 in the season series for the Rangers. One blowout, and the other two were really close. 6-1 for the Hurricanes at the beginning of January, but the other two games, 1-0 and 2-1. So I mean, are we gonna see we may see a low scoring series, or we may see maybe a blowout for each shot? I don't know. We're gonna have to see on that. So let's move into some storylines to follow now. I mean, Jim, what do you got for the series? I mean, is it gonna be that low scoring grudge match between the goaltenders, the defense, or are we gonna see some goals?
Oh, I think we'll see some goals. It's a lot of the storylines, in addition to on the ice, there's going to be a lot of off the ice. You're looking at teams that have former players on each other's team, and one of the key players for the Rangers is Trocheck.
Mhm.
The Hurricanes have what, about 3 ex-Rangers on their team. We have a Rangers head coach who was the head coach of Rod Brind'Amour, the Hurricanes head coach when he was the captain in 2006, and now we have the news that maybe Brind'Amour won't be back in Carolina. So there's a lot of intrigue in this on and off the ice, and I find it like really interesting of all the stats that were going on. But started looking at the betting lines when they came out, and the Rangers are home ice favorites. They are the President's Cup winners, but they're a slight underdog. And you look at this and there's this stat that came out, and again, I don't want to get too stat geeky on everybody here, but the one that they like is that expected goals 5-on-5, and the Hurricanes were much better than the Rangers in that set. And basically, for those who don't know, like, what's that? That's basically you get more quality shots off your opponents. That's because the Hurricanes are a pretty disciplined team. And the Rangers have a tendency to not be disciplined. They'll fire shots when they shouldn't. They've had some, in games where they don't do well, that get blocked and get turned, into breakaways or 2-on-1s. So one of these, the storyline for the Rangers is going to be discipline to do the things that they did that when they win. And again, the discipline, like we talked with the Capitals, to stay out of the penalty box. Do not give a team, at this level in the playoffs, any extra chances with a man up. More so than what you're going to get. That will be the doom of them if that plays out.
Definitely. And talking about pretty much even match as well is their power play goals, 67 power play goals to 65. So you're pretty much with the same type of power plays. It's pretty even. Zach, what about you? Any storylines you're kind of looking at in this series going in? There are quite a few. If you're looking at, like former players going against each other, you got some coaches. The goaltenders have both been really good so far in the playoffs, and albeit very small sample size because they were done pretty quick. But what do you have for some storylines everyone should be watching here?
Well, I would definitely say you're looking at, talking about goalies. I mean, it's going to be another great matchup as always, and just quickly circling back to your 1-0 game for the Rangers, it was off Bray Shea's skate, talking about ex-Rangers. So, I mean, it was just one of those things where it's like, all right, here's a puck off the skate and it goes in, and that's your only goal of the game. But, I mean, in terms of goaltending, I mean, Frederick Anderson, 2.25 goals against, 0.912 save percentage. I mean, he didn't let in more than 3 goals. Like, he gave 3 goals twice, and that's it. Other than that, it was all less. And like I said, one of those games was in double overtime. So that's why you see where his goals against average is where it's at. So I mean, and that's the most he's played in like consecutive games since he's came back from his blood clotting issue, for the fact that even when he did come back, he was swapping in and out with Pyotr Kochetkov, and
Mhm.
that's something, you hopefully see some rest for him. And then do you see the Hurricanes turning to Pyotr Kochetkov at some point? Because I think by the time the games start, you're talking almost 20, 21 days since he's been in the game. I think the last time he played was like the second to last game of the season against the Blackhawks on a Sunday. So you're
Mhm.
talking almost 3 weeks of no games. So that's gonna be very interesting to see how they work with that. In terms of ex players, Jesper Foss he's going to be out. They're saying he's out for the whole playoffs. So unfortunately, you won't see him at all. I know he's in a neck brace. They're talking 2 weeks before he gets reevaluated again. Um, Tony D'Angelo, X-rays came back fine, stuff like that. So it's just Brady Shea. I mean, he's fine. No, nothing wrong with him. He just putting him a casual 5 assists for 5 points in 5 games, no big deal. Just Brady Shea doing his thing. But
Yeah.
in terms of coaches, they had a press conference today with Don Waddell and Rod Brennan. With Don Waddell, he said they're going to make it work. They talk about it every day. They're going to, and even Rod Brennan Moore was on ESPN's The Point with Steve Levy. He even said he wants to be in Carolina. He knows that, there's some stuff to work out. It's just like how it was last time when they talked about his contract situation, because his contract was done the same time his assistants were done, and that's the
Mhm.
same thing again. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just he had to take care of his assistants, Tim Gleason, Jeff Daniels, all of them, and then his contract's done. He
Mhm.
wants to be a Carolina Hurricane. Don Waddell says he wants to stay here. So I know there's a lot of those reports of Seattle's trying to go after him, and then this team's going after him. It's honestly, I'm not even worried about it. They're just trying to figure some minute details out, and it's going to get taken care of. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of the coaching side of things for sure. And yeah, Vincent Trocheck, yeah, that's one guy I'm like, that's someone to definitely keep an eye on, especially for the fact he loves to play the Carolina Hurricanes, especially when these two get back together at some point. So yeah, I would definitely say, former players trying to go against their former teams is definitely going to be something worth to watch for sure.
Yeah, that should be fun. That's a fun storyline to watch for sure. I didn't realize there were that many there were that many involved there. So yeah, should be
Yeah,
fun.
just a little bit.
All right, I'll stay with you, Zach, on some players to watch in this series. Now, yeah, we've got the stars and we've talked about them in the first round, but coming off that first round of the guys that did shine in that series, who do you expect to be that for the Hurricanes in this one? They're going to be keying on the big guys, but both teams have their stars. I don't know if they're going to be just trying to shut down because they both can go against each other pretty well.
Yeah, I would definitely say for sure. I mean, surprisingly enough, like Sebastian Aho only got like 3 points in that series against the Islanders. Like Seth Jarvis led the team in points in the first round. He got 7 points in 5 games. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they tee on him. Andrei Svechnikov got 5 points as well. Like I said, Brady Shea did too. Evgeny Kuznetsov, sneaky good in round one, 2 goals and 2 assists.
Mhm.
Of course, we all saw the penalty shot goal, which was just absolutely just
Yeah,
nasty. Of course, I think it was 12.36 seconds between whistle and goal. That's how long it took for him to score that one. But I would say if you want to like not the big names that you kind of want to focus on, I would say watch out for Jack Drury. He did score his first ever playoff goal in game 5. It was a huge one, which was the game winner. Steph Nason, 3 goals. One of them was a power play goal, but all of his goals are net front. And that's just
Mhm.
what he is. He's Mr. Net Front. And surprisingly, for the fact that he's a guy who's in the bottom 6, but he plays in the power play a lot just because he brings that extra grit and he gets in the greasy areas and scores those type of goals. So I say Jack Drury's one, Steph Nason's another one. And like I said, Evgeny Kuznetsov, like he's been playing really well for the Kings. He's really came out strong in the first series, and I wouldn't be surprised if he, continues that run and builds off that for round two. So if we're not talking the big boys, I would say those three are definitely ones to keep an eye on for sure.
And Nazen was very impressive in the first round. For a guy
Yeah.
that's a few years ago he wasn't really much of a player, and now he's sure
I
good.
would, yeah, last year was kind of like his coming out party with like a lot of power play goals and just setting himself up as that net front guy. So yeah, he just last year and this year, he's really cemented himself as someone to keep an eye on for sure. Because clutch goals in big moments, especially on the power play.
I love his celebration too. They always seem to get very good images of him.
Oh yeah, just full on rebel yelling in the corner. Yeah, it's just he loves him when he scores those type of goals. It's not a lot, but when he does though, pretty impactful.
Pretty good, yeah. All right, Jim. What about you? I mean, some of the big guys did come to play against in the first round. Who are you watching in this one against the Hurricanes?
Well, I'm going to watch Chris Kreider. He only had 3 points in that series, but it wasn't, I mean, really for lack of anything they do. Sometimes that's just the way it works. And it was only 4 games as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would just, for somebody who has such a, great playoff record, for the Rangers and the time that he's been there, I was hoping he would get maybe a little bit more on track and, we'll probably expecting to see a longer series than 4 games in this one. Zibanejad, led in points. He had 6 assists and 7 points. Again, we talked about Trocheck. What a couple other guys, Lafreniere had, I think, 4 assists, in the playoffs. And that was good to see that he got some, production. And, Panarin didn't have a lot of points either, but again, in a 4-game series, that's a little bit of a misnomer. So, pick your poison on who's going to do the, damage to the Hurricanes, and, they get some balance, which was they did against the Capitals. They had a bunch of guys get, at least one goal. Rimke got a goal. Oh my goodness. Worried about him in a penalty, and he got a goal. So, but that's what you need. Another, thing that, when you watch a storyline player to watch is to see if Philip Hedl comes back from injury. And, when he comes back, is he going to be that dramatic thing to give the team a boost like Sergachev did for the Lightning or anything like that? So I'll be curious to see, if he can come back, and if he's, anywhere near, full health, full strength, he would be a really, big asset for the Rangers to, to have on the ice in this series.
Mm-hmm. That'd be a big one, for sure. It depends on how well he comes back too, coming off that injury. But sometimes you get surprised by some of these guys that come back and just are fired up, right? So
yeah, and if he even gets limited minutes, but he's still, doing really well until he gets, his stamina and everything back down, that'll still be big. I mean, Sergachev gave the lift to the Lightning for at least one game. And he didn't play a whole bunch of minutes, but when he was out there, he was effective. So, that would be kind of a nice boost if the Rangers, do indeed get that in this series.
For sure. All right, I'll stay with you, Jim, on keys to victory for the Rangers. I mean, they walked through the Capitals and not much issues there. How are they going to beat the Hurricanes? Which, I mean, they're a pretty powerhouse team, but the Rangers are themselves too. So how are they going to kind of push their way through to the Eastern Conference Final here?
They're going to have to be patient. You're not going to do much against the Hurricanes. They frustrate you to no end. 2 years ago when they had that epic, it was the same thing. And the Rangers can't let themselves get frustrated if they don't get as many good looks. They get locked down a little bit. They got to take the chances where they need to, and take advantage of them when they do get them. That could end up going like it did, 2 years ago, even though there's a lot of, so there's some new players, there's a lot of the same players, and a lot of the, key core players. And, it would be that kind of series. And they did stay patient until, they got a little frustrated in the first two games that they lost. And then they came back and won the next 2 and went on from there. That's what they need to do. But it'd be nice to start that out in game 1. Again, they also need to stay out of the penalty box and, eliminate a lot of stupid mistakes that they have frequently made, in the course of the season that's hurt them in a variety of games. And I think if they can handle all of that, they've got a really good shot to win this series.
That's going to be a big thing is making sure they don't get frustrated by the Hurricanes defense, because they have a really good defense system that seems to work. So, yeah, Zach, what about the Hurricanes to get through the Rangers this time? I mean, like you said, they have a really deep team. They got all these players that seem to be, we didn't even talk about, like you said about Kuznetsov. How are they going to beat the Rangers here?
I would say stick to your structured defense, like what you guys talked about. As long as they can stay in their system, and because there was a couple times in the first round where they kind of had a couple defensive lapses in puck watch and they got burned by it. I would definitely say if they, go back, watch the tape, tighten it up, and Tim Gleason, the defensive coach, will do that.
Mm-hmm.
If they can get back to what they have been good at all season in stifling teams and frustrating them, and then being able to transition the way they do, Jalen Chatfield can do it. He's got speed. Dmitry Orlov, Brady Shea's offensively minded. Brent Burns, he can basically score at will. I mean, Jacob Slavin, who's probably the best defensive defenseman in the NHL, should have a Norris, but that's a whole different conversation for another time. But it's just, and like his only penalty in the first round was a puck over the glass. Like that's just how clean Jacob Slavin is. Like that's his only penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just, as long as they can stick to that and frustrate the Rangers to where it's like they're not getting a lot of shots, or they're getting blocks, or they're keeping them in the perimeter and basically just forcing them to make plays and make mistakes, which could lead into them taking, a bunch of penalties, and then you're putting the second best power play unit on the ice that you saw in the regular season. And then even like I said, even if the Hurricanes get in trouble, you're still talking about the best penalty kill unit in the NHL too. So I mean, it's like what pick your poison on special teams. Do you want to deal with the penalty kill, or the power kill, as some people call it, or the power play?
Yeah.
And that's just what it really is. So as long as they play their defense and frustrate the Rangers and just stick to what they do best, which is going to just grind you out, but still score well, because you have guys who can score. Like you said, Matt, top 3 in the league in terms of scoring. So as long as they stick to that, I think that's how they're going to do it against the Rangers. It's just don't chase, and don't start going into how the physicality and getting into scraps or post whistle stuff with the Rangers. Just stick to your game and just frustrate them and just take advantage of it. Really.
I forgot. I told the name went away. It's Jake Gensel. I said we haven't even talked about Jake Gensel yet, and he's
sneaky good in the first round too. Yeah, it was an empty net goal, but still got 4 points. Yeah, and he just keeps adding to his point per game run that he is in the playoffs, and that's another player. I would say keep an eye on him too. But that's just how good Jake Gensel is. He just quietly just. Oh yeah, no problem. 4 points, no big deal. In like 5 games, you're like, wait, what? How did that happen? that's just Jake Gensel for you. And that's him being on the top line with Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov.
Yeah,
and also Seth Jarvis for the first couple games of the series too. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you don't have to mention, because he's just gonna be good in the playoffs, so you don't have to.
Yeah, it's just like death, taxes, Jake Gensel in the playoffs. No big deal.
By law, we do have to mention him at least once in the podcast, though, because he is so good. So it's a good thing we didn't forget him.
Yeah.
I think we'll be getting a lot of calls from the higher ups of the hockey areas going, "Hey, how can we just talk about Jake Gensel?" I'm sorry. It's just so
I know one who
would
call us.
Hey,
all right.
Not me.
X factors. Now quickly, Jim, what's gonna be an X factor in this series? Player situation. What do you got?
Shesterkin. He's been brilliant. He's got to continue to be brilliant. If he starts showing any chinks in his armor, I'm afraid, what will happen to the composure, for the rest of the team. Will they press and everything? It's kind of hard to say in this kind of series what an X factor is going to be, because again, there are so many of them on each side, and you got to worry about, like, a guy we didn't even mention, Gensel, from all the other guys that Zach's already talked about. So, and each side has them.
Yeah.
And I think that the X factor for everything, and then maybe not for the Rangers, it may come down to who gets the most breaks. And you're talking about the
Yeah.
Brady Shea off the skate goal. You know,
Oh
who
gosh.
gets
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
who
one. Yeah,
gets
it's 1-0, and that's it. It's like,
yeah,
boy.
who gets the breaks like that? I mean, the little things, who, um makes the one little mistake that leads to something. I mean, I think this series could be so tight. That would be the X factor. What one
Yeah.
little thing is going to happen to turn the tide for the team. So
Mhm.
to me, that's the X factor in this.
That's definitely a big one. Zach, what you have any other X factors? I mean, yeah, like you say, there's a lot that you could point to here.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like you're talking about the Rangers. Jim talked about Kreider. It's like, okay, what about you also mentioned Artemi Panarin, but you also got like every other guy who can pretty much score on that offense too. Zibanejad and oh goodness, even the defense can score for
Yeah.
them too. It's like who are we? It's like a who's who of like, all right, who do you have on this list? You look at it,
Yeah.
you're like, crap, pretty much everyone can score on this team, and that's how it is for both sides. And
Yeah.
it's a scary thing to think about. And if I'm a goaltender, like yeah, I would say Frederick Anderson, just like with Igor Shesterkin, you got to play lights out essentially because it's going to
Mm.
be a tough series. And it's yeah, of course, 1-0. It has to go off a guy's skate. It wasn't even a clean Ranger goal. It's just oh yeah, just bouncing off a dude, and there you go. Like well, welcome to the NHL where you just get wacky goals. But
Yeah.
I would say the X factor is going to be special teams because if you start
Mm.
getting into a special teams battle, because I even said it for the first round, if the Islanders took a lot of penalties and the Hurricanes made them pay for it, we saw a lot of
Mm.
power play goals and stuff like that. And I feel like it's almost the same thing. If the Hurricanes are able to get those, extra minute chances and stuff like that, I think they could, make that work to their advantage as well. Because we've
Mm.
already talked about it, first and second in those respective special teams units.
Mhm.
So I would definitely say it's going to be it's the non 5-on-5 play. Who, if how's that going to work out? If one team gets more of an advantage, or they can capitalize on it, that could change the series. So I'm definitely say it's the non 5-on-5 play that's going to be a huge thing in this series.
Yeah, I mean, Hurricanes also had 11 shorthanded goals. Uh, Rangers 8. So I mean, again, they're not that
And
far away from that.
Jacob Slavin had two of them. That's really saying something because Jacob Slavin's not known for his goal scoring. He had two this season on the shorthanded, and Seth Jarvis is pretty much well known for his shorthanded goals. I know he for his 30th, his goal of the season was on a shorthanded goal as well. So
There you
yeah,
go.
this team is no stranger to being a power kill more than a penalty kill
Yeah.
because they can just score in any situation.
Yeah, that's gonna be something to watch. I mean, I don't know. Like, are we gonna, like I said at the beginning, are we gonna see a high scoring series or very low? Because both teams have
Both,
top end of
both is good.
offense and defense. So.
It's like both is good. I can see. Yeah, you could see 7-6. You could see 2-1. It depends on how's the moon looking that night, and did everyone get their hot dogs before they go into the game,
Yeah.
or did they enjoy a slice of pizza up in New York and then barbecue in Carolina? So I guess it all just depends on what the vibes are that night and just
Yeah,
how the puck's going to go into the net. So.
for sure. Now this one's gonna be a tough one because there's so many that you could pick for this. Jim, who's gonna be the series MVP for this one? You can pick one for each team. You can pick one overall. There's lots. There's probably no wrong answer here because anyone could probably do it.
I know it's tough. It's so many choices. I think again, if the Rangers are going to win, it's going to have to be on Shesterkin's back, and I will pick him for uh, the series MVP for the Rangers.
All right, Zach, who do you have as a series MVP?
It got to ride with the hot body right now, and that's Seth Jarvis, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, 7 points in 5 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, power play goal. I mean, the dude he had a career year in the regular season, carried him to the first round, leading the team, and it's like he's known as the playoffs, and this is his third straight one in his third season. Is just the way he's playing right now. I would not want to bet against that guy, especially for the fact he's an RFA after the season. He wants to keep proving that he is that dude. So I'm fully going Seth Jarvis for the series. He's gonna just keep doing what he's doing
Mhm.
for sure.
I'm gonna echo that. I said in the first preview, I love Seth Jarvis. He proved us right. We talked about him in the first series too,
Yeah,
and he came to play. So,
Mhm.
and no surprise there, really.
No.
All right, let's get to our predictions for this series now. I'm gonna go first. I'm going 7. This is gonna go to a 7-game series. I don't see it anywhere else. I think it's either at most, at least it'll be a 6, but it's going pretty much the distance. And geez, I mean, this is really tough though. I think the Hurricanes are gonna go. So Hurricanes in 7. I'm gonna go with that. Zach, what do you got?
I mean, I kind of agree with you, Matt, in terms of the fact that you could potentially see 6, but you gotta have a goalie. It's a goalie's going to steal a game for you.
Yeah.
If it's going to be one of those close games, it's going to be like 2-1, and the goalie just absolutely just like has 10 bell saves in that game and just absolutely just goes like Dominik Hasek times 20 in that game just to be able to steal one. But I would love to say 6, but now I'm going 7, and it's going to be Hurricanes, and it's going to be a super tight series. I don't see blowouts. It's going to be either 2 goals or less every single game for the whole series. But I do see Hurricanes in 7, and it's going to be a battle for sure.
For sure. Jim, what do you got for this one?
I'm going to go Rangers in 7. I think if they get back to that home ice at MSG for Game 7, I think they're in a pretty good position. So I'm going to go Rangers in a 7. Again, it's going to be tight. And there might be a few high scoring games. Sometimes you get those quirky games
Mhm.
where, again, you get the skates and the bounces and different things like that neither goaltender has any control over. So you might get like a 4-3, 5-4. But I
Mhm.
think for the most part, it'll be low scoring. Um, I think each team will steal a game, at least one game on their opponent's home ice. But I think when it gets down to Game 7, the Rangers take it and move on.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Like I say, this is gonna be a tough one. This is a tough one to call. I mean, you can go either way, and you have arguments for each one that they're gonna win this series. So, it's gonna be fun. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Jim, for coming on and previewing this. Hopefully, really fun to watch series, even though it probably will be low scoring. But there's a tons of chances, and not just a lockdown defense. But it should be fun. So, make sure checking out all of our articles at hockeybears.com. We've got recaps after every game, and then takeaways and stuff after the next day as well. So lots of fun stuff going on. So make sure checking all that out. But until next time, we'll see you on another preview show.